A big welcome to all the viewers watching Soul to Soul talk show. In this episode, we have a very special person joining us, Sister Denise from London, and she is the first student of the Brahmakumaris from the West, and she has worked with the BBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and has also spent 25 years with the Hollywood doing shows for the Brahmakumaris. And presently she is staying at the Global Cooperation House and is a teacher of the Brahmakumaris. A big welcome to you, sister.
Thank you,
Pleasure to
Saranya.
have us.
Thank you.
So, could you describe your life as a Brahmakumari?
Well, I've been with Brahmakumaris now 38 years, and so that is the major portion of my life. So from the age of 23, I came into Brahmakumaris. That was during the 1970s. So the world at that time and the world now is a very, very different world. And in those days, people were extremely interested in spirituality from India, and Raj Yoga was something very special. Meditation was something that was becoming very important for people. People were questioning why the world is like it is, and feeling that, and this was my feeling also, I need to learn to meditate. And so I discovered the Brahmakumaris in London, and I began the Raj Yoga course, which I liked very much. It corresponded to what I had been thinking about for a long time. I liked the meditation methods. I had very good experience of meditation. And I liked the idea that you can integrate your spiritual practice with your work. And I was working in media, which is a very high stress kind of job. And you have to work sometimes 24 hours a day, depending on the news that's going on. I was working in news. And so it was extremely helpful for me. And I made it my life. After some time, I came to India. And as being the first person from the West in Brahmakumaris, of course, and as being a journalist, I have to check this. And so I traveled throughout India. I came to the headquarters at Mount Abu. And at that time, Brahmakumaris was much smaller than it is now. And the majority of the sisters could not speak English. So I used to mostly talk with the brothers, the senior brothers who would speak English. And at that time, I didn't know Hindi, of course. I went to Madras, Bangalore, Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, many of the main cities, Kanpur also, where the Brahmakumaris centers had been established, because I wanted to really check that what is this? Not only from the point of view of the spiritual knowledge that we study here, and the meditation that we practice, but also as an organization, as an institution, how is it functioning? And so I found that it fully satisfied my curiosities and my criteria. And then after that, I decided to make this my life, actually, and I became a dedicated Brahmakumari from that time.
Since how many years?
So that was within a few months of coming into the knowledge, so about 4 or 5 months afterwards, so very quickly. And you see, in those days, we had our training as a Brahmakumari was hands-on with the dadis. You see. So the person who was my teacher was Dadi Janki, who is now the head of the Brahmakumaris. And so she taught me each and everything. And I used to question her on every detail of everything. And of course, in the study that we do, there are many references to Indian society, history, mythology, scriptures.
Right.
And so I studied all of those because I felt that you can only do this at any level of depth if you really know the background. And then I went to different countries for service. First of all, I had a year in Germany. And all of these foreign centers were just starting. So I was right at the beginning of Germany, of Canada, of United States. And I stayed in United States for 30 years. And after that, so I came to understand the American people very well because I'm English. And to bring the spirituality of India into America, it doesn't go just straight directly. You have to really take the essence of the knowledge that is taught here and make it relevant, make it applicable to people's lives there. It has to be relevant to people who have a background of Christianity, of Judaism, of Buddhism. United States is a very pluralistic society. Many different ethnic groups are there. There's a huge Indian community there. And so, of course, I needed to make myself capable of representing this knowledge to people of many different backgrounds. And so that was a very interesting training. And how to be a good yogi, a good spiritual practitioner. This is something that, of course, you take a whole lifetime to become a good yogi. And so under Dadi Janki's guidance, she has, enabled me to follow the same route that the original Brahmakumaris and Kumaris had followed from the 1930s and still make it relevant now in the 21st century. So that has been very interesting. Then I spent 7 years continuously within India. I stayed at Mount Abu. I was preparing books. And we have now in the education wing of the Brahmakumaris, there is a program that is done in connection with Annamalai University, which is called Value Education. And so I prepared all the books for that and initiated the delivery of the course. So that gave me a wonderful opportunity to work closely with many different universities in India and also with the different Indian centers. I traveled very widely in India and worked closely preparing teachers.
Training teachers
to deliver the course. I think there's about 5,000 students a year who study that course. I'm not involved with it at the moment because it was taken up by the education wing and everything is working very nicely with that. And after that I was in Canada. I had been in Canada in the 70s and then again after our administrative head Dadi Prakashmani at the time when she passed on. At that time I was asked to go to Canada, so 3 years I spent in Canada, which is again another different culture. It's North America, but not the same as USA by any means. And it's a bilingual country. And my mother is French, so I have that as my mother tongue. French and English is the same for me. And there in Canada, it's a huge country. I think it takes 9 hours by flight to go from the east to the west. It's that big.
Okay.
That's the same distance more than from London to Delhi. So it's a very vast country and with many different cultures there. And so that was also very interesting. And then the last 2 years I've been based in England, and I travel throughout Europe, Eastern Europe, and beyond Europe also. Basically, now what we have is we have a lot of centers and a lot of people from all different ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds, language groups, cultural groups. And I think my function really is to make relevant and share my nearly 40 years experience as a Western person practicing this spirituality which originated here in India. So that is what I do at this time.
So in this journey of 40 years, like, you've met people from different cultures, as you said. So have you found any difference in the way they accept this knowledge, or is it easily accepted by people from all the cultures that you have met?
It is extraordinary. Whatever you would think, it's not like that. One of the things that we do, and part of the philosophy of Brahmakumaris, is everyone is a soul. Everyone is a soul, and so when you're talking to a person as a soul, as a human being, a human soul, you realize that all the people in the world are fundamentally very close to each other, and that the overlay of different culture and civilizations and language and background and so on, even people who had been raised in former communist countries where everyone was raised atheist, as soon as you start talking about matters of spirituality, it clicks in, you see. And you find that you're talking to your spiritual brother, your spiritual sister. And it's really a very close feeling. Whether somebody is from the East or the West or whatever, fundamentally, all of us share so much. We have so much in common that the variations add beauty and variety, but they really don't constitute walls, you see. So I found it very easy to come very close to people from any religious background, cultural background.
And you also said, like, it gave answers to many questions that you had since a long time. So what were those questions?
Well, you know, ever since I was very small, I wanted to understand what is the meaning of life. And what is life itself, and what is, I always wanted, even as a small child, I thought the best thing would be to get the third eye.
Oh, you knew about the third eye?
I knew about the third eye. I don't know how I knew about the third eye, but my family was very connected with the British Raj in India, in Calcutta, and even in Mount Abu. And so I grew up with Indian objects, little boxes, clothes, saris, all the beautiful artistic items that are created here in India. So there was always a feeling of closeness to India. I used to listen to the sitar music and the tablas, and I was very attracted. And even I had sari. I used to wear sari from the age of 13 because I thought this looks very nice. And other people said, why are you wearing this? I said, well, you don't know, but this looks good, so I'm wearing it. And so even when I came to Brahmakumaris, and as you can see now, I'm wearing the sari, which I have worn since the beginning. And of course, I knew exactly how to put a sari. So the sisters were quite surprised, actually, yeah. And so, you know, the feeling of closeness to India was always there. And even as I grew up, there were many people around who had come from India. So there was always that feeling of being comfortable with things and people from India.
Have you read the Indian scriptures,
Yes.
the Gita,
Yes. Yes.
before coming, knowing the Brahmakumaris?
Somewhat, but you know, we have a particular study that we study on a daily basis when you practice the Brahmakumaris Raj Yoga, and there are many references. And so in order to give me adequate
Understanding,
sense and all these things, so the Gita, the Bhagavad, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the all the Sikh scriptures also, and then of course Quran, you see, because the aim of spirituality, no matter what your background is, but the aim is to realize yourself and to come close to God. And so who is God, what is God, how do you know, how do you make connection? All of these things are matters to be pondered upon. And so meditation involves thinking deeply about these things. These are intangible, these are subtle, they're very deep. And in India you have a huge, you know, pantheon of different deities, festivals, scriptures, symbols, all of these things. And so it's a wonderful work of exploration, and then you have to fit it all together with whatever else there is in this world, so that you have a picture. And then you pursue your work of personal spiritual development. And it goes through many terrains. You develop different aspects at different times, you see, because in many years, like for me nearly 40 years, so in your 20s things have a different importance, in your 30s it's different, in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, it's different, you see.
But when does spirituality become a priority? In which age group?
I don't think it's about age group. I think it's about the individual. And so for me, spirituality was always a priority from the beginning, even since childhood.
But it's a common notion that spirituality is usually taken up when people grow old, in their 60s. Why is that so then?
Well, because when you get older, you might die. And so, when you're young, you always think you'll not die, but you might. And some people, they carry on until they're 95, 96, 100. Many people live to 100 nowadays, but it is common in the society to tell people, and we have in India the ashrams, you see. And so when you're a child, you are a child, then you're a student, then you get married, then you develop your business, then you get your grandchildren, and then finally you head off in the general direction of you want to achieve liberation, mukti, you want to go to heaven, whatever it is, but you start thinking about those things.
Yes.
And also for a lot of people, it's not, I think, until you have really lived a full life that you have enough life experience to seriously deal with spirituality. I think also as people are growing up, they deal with different psychological issues that arise, you know, and you have to really finish off your psychological issues before you can really get to the deeper spiritual issues. This has a philosophic content too, but it varies with individuals and with communities, you know.
Psychological issues like?
Well, your character. Now, one of the things that we see, most people, as they grow up, they experience different sorts of traumas, shocks, and this affects them. It can even create a wound in their psyche, and this will create a distortion in their development, their emotional development, their social development, and so on. And so this creates character defects. And these character defects get in the way when you want to develop yourself spiritually. So you have to then work through that.
But to work through that, how do they get help from to work through that? Where do they get help
Well,
from?
there's lots and lots of ways, because you see, in this world today, these psychological issues are so prevalent, so widespread, that there's a lot of people who are in the field of psychology, sociology, and so on, who deal with that, so that it's very common in schools. There are people who help the students to deal with these things. In the West, and it's happening more and more in India, the children grow up in families where the parents are divorced. That's a trauma right there, you see. Or if one of the parents dies, or gets very ill, or accidents, or, you know, in some societies, the use of alcohol and drugs is very great. Although it's not so well recognized, but India has a huge problem of alcohol abuse. And so children who grow up in families where there is alcohol use and abuse, where there is irrational behavior in the elders, this is a traumatic effect on the children. And so they grow up with these distortions of character, you see. It makes it very difficult for them to study properly, for them to relate properly, and so on. So all of these things, when you want to go deep into yourself and really understand your spiritual nature, these get in the way. So you have to work through it.
So in this episode, we just took our first step on this journey with Sister Denise, and she explained her life as a Brahmakumari and all, you know, the different cultures of people that she met, and she defined the aim of spirituality. In the forthcoming episodes, we will take up further spiritual experiences that she has had in her life as a Brahmakumari, and hopefully we will be meeting you in that episode too. Thank you, Sister, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us in this episode, and we wish to meet you in the next episode too. Have a great day.